G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Saturday, the 29th of June 2019, and the time here is 10:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well, folks, there is look, there is literally so much information going on that I can't keep up with the news. I could literally post every day on a different subject, and I possibly will start doing that. But we've got some issues with house and kids and everything else at the moment, me trying to record, them staying home, and it's just a nightmare at the moment. So that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of being so intermittent. Hopefully that'll change this week coming and next week, the week after that. So just bear with me. Because I'm going to try and touch base with a few issues today. Firstly, I'd like to go to my great sponsor. And here is my great sponsor, Totally Rawsome Health. Now, if you don't know what Totally Rawsome do, they make golden activated turmeric paste. Unlike other turmeric products on the market, this one actually works. Look, I use this stuff every single day and I have not had any joint pain. And obviously this is for me, but I get lots of feedback from the comment section as regards to their products. And I've actually got people writing to me now saying, since I've started using it, or, thank God you told me to start using it or advised me of this stuff, because people are now getting off their meds because of this stuff. It's fantastic, folks, honestly. This is where you can find them. Bundle Farmers Market every Sunday, 6 till 12. Contact, sorry, I put the specs on, 0433 165 848. I will actually ask them to change that so they can do the international. And info@totallyrawsome.com.au. If you look up here on the left-hand side, I usually put the sponsors link in my description box, but that's it. It's www.totallyrawsome.com.au. And as I said, it does work. It's fantastic, honestly. I used to take I'm on painkillers anyway because of my illness, but joint pain's different. And my knees are shot, absolutely shot. Rugby, 10 years of karate plus, kicking on my right knee. It's just, to use a quaint Aussie term, absolutely rooted. But it's this stuff, since I've started using, no pain. Right. A long time ago, I want to go back to originally when I started doing videos, which was in regards to weather and finance, because I noticed there was something really wrong with the weather. Now, I got an email from Pete, a good mate of mine, who was in our research group, planetary research group, stroke Nibiru. And a long while ago, about a year ago, I dropped it because of some issues I had with it. Right, and here's my explanation for dropping out of it. And I will say, right, I said this before, there was I've got pictures that I can't explain to people, and I used to use the GIMP screenshot, and I figured out how to actually find out what was behind the clouds. It's very easy to do if you spend some time and effort doing it. And I've got pictures that I just physically and mentally cannot explain to you, because there is something there. It's not at the front of the screen, it's at the back of the screen. So I can't explain what the object is. Now, a few years ago, I realized there was something seriously wrong with the sky and the sun. And if you know anything about compass readings, etc., I realized that the stars were out. Like, not a little bit either, but they were massively out. And then, I started looking up and I was noticing all this chemtrailing everywhere. Or lines in the sky, and I'm thinking, what the hell is this shit? Now, you may think that's weird, but for someone who's worked out in the sun or worked out in construction every single day of their life, just about from the age of 15, because I was a school dropout, unfortunately. You get to know the weather patterns, the sun, the sky, etc. And I realised the sun wasn't yellow anymore; it was white. You may think that's funny, but go out and have a look at it. If you're 56 like I am, or 55, I can't remember how old I am. I'm getting so old I can't remember my age. You realise that the sun used to be yellow, and you could actually physically look at the sun, you know, for a while, not until you burn your retinas out of it. You could physically look at the sun if you wanted to. You try doing that now, because the sun's white. You look up at it, and you physically can't look at the sun. It's white. It's not yellow anymore. And then also notices that at sunset, the sky was this pink, absolute pink color, red pink, which is not supposed to happen. So anyway, look, cut a long story short, that's what piqued my curiosity. Now, why did I drop out of the Nibiru subject? Because of a gentleman called Pete. Rob Lockwood, who owns a YouTube channel, and I got into discussions with him, because don't forget, you can't live in an echo chamber. You must listen to other points of view. And Rob Lockwood got hold of me and he said, "Mate, what are you doing? You know, this is false information. You're telling people there's a planet there. Do you know there's a planet there or not?" And in the end, I had to agree with him and said, "Well, no, I don't, but there's something there." So anyway, here's the conclusion that I came down to, or conclusions. One, something definitely was there. Two, our sky, especially at night time, and not so much at night time and in the morning, people like me notice things like this. The sun was coming up in totally different directions, massively different, right? And I wasn't the only person that noticed. Thousands of people around the world noticed it. And then when I was looking at the stars were miles out, like, many degrees out. And I don't care what anybody says. I know they were. I'm not trying to defend it. I know they were. But here's what I got to in the end. Okay. Is it possible for another planet, i.e. Nibiru, to come into our system, even if it is a secondary sun, or it's a partner, a dead sun of the actual sun? So they're two objects, and they work in a link. Yes, it is possible. And there's scientific evidence to prove that. I won't go into that, but here's the rub. Can a planet physically come close to Earth? And the answer is no. You might see it a gazillion miles off, and it might seem very close, but it's physically impossible. Now, why is it physically impossible? Well, you get to the point where you realize that all the solar system is on a plane, isn't it? Regardless of how it seems, which way it's going in your own mind. But they are magnetically linked. That's a scientific fact. Now, they all revolve around each other on this magnetic axis, from the sun. A planet cannot just decide to come up and through and in on that magnetic plane, because the reason is because if it did, or if it tried to, it would offset magnetically all the other planets. So it would have to be a huge, it's just physically impossible, put it that way. If it was huge, like they were saying it would push the other planets out. So we would go skirtling across the universe in another direction if that was the case. So you soon realize that magnetically, it is physically impossible to do it. It may come close, and we may have some issues with that. And I believe now that that's what happened. This planet was miles off, but it was big enough and powerful enough magnetically to alter our environment at that time. Now, I've noticed that recently there doesn't seem to be so many star anomalies and sun anomalies, and I keep an eye at it every single day. I go out looking at it. It's something I've grown up with. So that's my reason for dropping the Nibiru subject, and also the fact that I realised that whoever it was that started this, and we all got sucked into it, me included, it was a very, very well orchestrated con job. Like I said, was it there? Yes, I believe it was. And it did actually affect us at one time. But that doesn't explain why there's still chemtrailing to me. Look, chemtrailing, in my mind, is actually being done to benefit us. I know that sounds weird, but I think if they hadn't had started chemtrailing and warming the earth up, we would be now going through the biggest, coldest, horrific weather that we've ever had. I'll give you an example. It's winter here in where I live, southeast Queensland, and look, I've got the flannel on. It's not that cold, but it's not that hot either. But it's the weather patterns, the rain. We've had inches of rain here in June. We've had summer rains here in winter. And it's things like that that are actually making everybody start taking notice, because wherever you live in the world, you notice that something's really seriously fire trucked up with whatever's going on in the world with weather-wise. And like I said, we've now had nearly 7 full days of rain in winter. And I mean summer rain, pouring down. Our ground's now so waterlogged, we literally can't go outside without boots on. And this is in winter, folks, when it's not, you might get the occasional shower, and I mean a brief shower, but this is pouring down Amazonial rain, subtropical rain. So it's just bizarre. And there's no answer to it. Why are they chemtrailing? I believe they're chemtrailing mainly for the Northern Hemisphere, not us. Because if you look on the Northern Hemisphere pictures, they are literally checker plating the sky with this shit. What's the long-term effects? I don't know. But it's not going to be good for everybody, I don't think. All right, so I hope I've explained that. Anyone who's in the Nibiru thing, just think logically about what I just said and you'll realise that that's the case. Okay, it doesn't mean that I don't believe you. I do believe there was something there, but I've dropped it. I'm not doing it anymore, and because of the reasons I've just explained. Okay, now let's move on from that. It's going to be like a weekly news wrap up. I've got a couple of stories that are absolutely going to piss you off, literally. If you're an Aussie, it'll even piss off any Yanks and anyone else, because this is just bloody ridiculous. Okay, first of all, this guy here, and I need to explain to you guys overseas, because in Australia we obviously know this. This guy was a bloke who tried to get to Australia illegally on a fucking boat, right? He got picked up, and then we send him to this island, now Nauru or Manus Island, Papua New Guinea, a little bit further on. They don't come to Australia. They're never allowed to set foot in Australia. So this excrement, for want of a better term, is now saying, right, he got transferred to Cambodia because we came up with this deal to go to Cambodia. So this clown, this is what pisses me off. We've got people starving in our streets, living in cars, veterans dying, committing suicide by the time I finish this video, I think it's 1 or 2 veterans have shot themselves or killed themselves. People who can't access healthcare, look, just the usual shit, okay? Just does my fucking brain in, these guys. And this piece of shit is now taking the Australian government to court after he's gone there, right? You have to read this whole story. It's infuriating. Right, I'm going to read this to you because it's going to piss you off. He's now telling the Australian government he wants more money. Now listen to this. In exchange to going to Cambodia, right, he was to receive a package of cash and payments to a bank account totaling $60,000. This is so he could go and live in Cambodia, right? So we gave this guy, an illegal immigrant, this much money. His wife and 4 children joined him in Phnom Penh in December, right? Now listen to this. It's difficult here. My kids cannot go to school. Australia Department of Home Affairs said it would not comment on an individual case, which is fair enough. Now, the ABC's got involved, obviously, because he realises they're a left-wing bunch of tree-hugging dickheads. Right, I'm going to read this bit down here. This infuriated me. One second. Mr. whatever his name is, Zalagari, said he signed a document accepting the payment before he understood how much education and health insurance costs in Cambodia were, right? Okay, that's your fault, not mine. You're getting money from us anyway, even though you're illegal, you dipshit. Anyway, look, he goes on about how much money he hasn't got, right? Even though we gave him money. Now, did you notice that all his family's sitting there on mobile phones? All the kids, all on mobile phones, paid for by the Australian government, the Australian taxpayer. And this piece of shit now wants more money. He's actually taken us to court. The refugee said he spent some of the $38,000 lump sum repaying debts to relatives who looked after his wife and children while he was on holiday, basically on holiday, while he was held in detention. Can you believe this shit? So our money went to fucking Syria. This is a bent and twisted world and system, guys. And now this guy wants another $80,000 or so from the Australian government. Remember, he came here illegally. And there's people that are actually now doing the court case for him. While there's kids in our schools that can't eat food because they haven't got enough money, they're poor, they can't have electricity, they can't have this. And this piece of shit wants us to pay for more for him. Why isn't there people on the other end of the phone going, what? We should be sending people over there to actually pick him up and take him back to Syria. Because that's all this guy wants. He wants more money so he can actually go back to Syria. Because I'll read this to you, right? Some of the money was also spent setting up a restaurant in Phnom Penh, but the business lost money and was sold to a Cambodian earlier this year. That's our problem? This is ridiculous. This is the sort of shit that just winds me up. Absolutely winds me up. This is not even funny. The ABC needs to be hobbled for putting shit like this in the paper. What they need to do is actually turn around and say, well, this bloke's a joke. He shouldn't be asking us for more money. Okay, this next one is going to seriously piss you off. Now remember, we have people here that are sending their kids to school with no food, can't have electricity, veterans dying in the street, veterans homeless, people can't afford healthcare, people are on waiting lists in hospitals for years and they die because they can't get there, etc., right? Now, you watch this story. This is the children of this piece of shit here who all went to Syria to fight for ISIS. You remember the kid holding the head? Picture of the kid holding the head? That's this lot, right? And now the Australian government has turned around and said, oh, they're Australians, we need to save them, right? 2 of those girls have actually one's had 3 kids and one's had 2, if I remember rightly. And they're going to bring them back to this country. Now, remember, in some realms of some whacked out weirdos Muslim weirdos living in this country. These people are martyrs. So what do you think is going to happen to these people when they get home to Australia? You're going to have one side of society that absolutely vilifies them. Would you send your kids to school with these kids? No way. And they're not kids anymore either, by the way. Some of these are 18 and 17. The two girls are 19 and 17, I think. So they're not kids. And the Australian government, right, is sending them back here, making out that, the children can't be held responsible for the parents' sins. Those kids have been over there for 7 years or something. They went at the beginning of all this. Now, here's what I want to know. Like, and I said, you're going to be vilified. But in some parts of society here in Australia, they will be idolised, absolutely idolised as martyrs to the cause of Islam. Now, here's what I want to know. How come they just left the country? What? No one knew that they got radicalised. Bullshit. The grandmother is running around going, I want to bring my kids home. They're orphans. You can't blame them for what their parents did. Okay, fair enough. But do I have to now spend millions on their health, education, and re-indoctrination into the Australian system, which, by the way, they're not going to accept? This is just crazy shit. What, you're telling me, right, they were never supposed to leave this country anyway. So you're telling me that they got on a plane and just went to Syria and everyone went, oh my God, the whole family got radicalised. No, they knew who these people were before they left Australia, because he was on a wanted list, he was on a list of people being watched. That's true fact. The grandmother would have known 100% that these people were going to get on a plane and piss off to Syria. That's undeniable. So what happens when this kid gets back? Because remember, this Sharif dipshit has got family here. So are these kids going to go back to that family? And he's got brothers in that are exactly like this guy. So where does this go? How does this help Australia? How does that help you and me? Isn't there anybody out there that can take a court case against the Australian government to stop this shit? If you're a lawyer watching this, please do something. Don't let these people come here. It's just crazy shit. Absolutely crazy. Just boggles the mind. What are you thinking? And before you say anything, this is who, you couldn't even tell if that's them. And this is this dipshit grandmother who's now saying, oh, I want to bring my kids home. They're radicalised. They're radicalised. They've got fucking burqas on. If that's what it's called. I don't really give a shit what it's called, but they're radicalised. And they're going to bring that shit here to Australia. What is wrong with you people? It's just bizarre. You can't even make this shit up anymore. Honestly, you can't. Please, if you're a lawyer, take an injunction out against the Australian government to stop these kids coming here. Just bizarre. That is wrong. Forget about the days when people went into politics to actually help us. They're only helping themselves now, folks. This is just a joke. They don't give a shit about us. They never have and they never will. And, this is that's just beyond $211,000 a year for a backbencher. So you can actually go into Parliament representing your area, right? That's their pay rise, by the way. That's not including all their super, all their giveaways, the free food, free, that if you're wondering why people are breaking their neck trying to get back in there every time, well, that's because they're on about, if you chuck in the cars, the free travel, this and that, these guys are on like 400K a year. Think about that. Be close to it. Oh, okay, I'm saying wrong. 211, let's give them another 100K for free travel, food, etc., etc. Guys, these guys are just flogging us stupid. Like I said, we've got kids that are actually going to school with no food in their stomachs. We've got people who can't pay their electricity bills. We've got people on waiting lists in hospitals that are dying before they get there. We've got a healthcare system. If you want to try and get permanent private health insurance now, it's so expensive you just can't physically do it. And we've got people who are on that amount of money. Now let me read this next bit because this is going to really burn you up. Right, this one here, where the cursor is. The timing of the pay rise will be hard to accept for some of the nation's lowest paid workers, as it coincides with the next round of penalty rate cuts ordered 2 years ago by the Independent Fair Work Commission. I'm going to read the one up above this first as well, another one as well. The Independent Remuneration Tribunal has given all members and senators a 2% pay rise in recognition of what it describes as a need to provide competitive and equitable remuneration for prospective politicians, sufficient to attract and retain people of calibre. Now I'm going to go down the bottom here. One of its main considerations is ensuring salaries for public roles can be competitive with the private sector. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't really give a shit. So effectively what they're saying is they don't believe they need, if you're going to run for parliament, as it should be every right of every Australian to do so, then here's the rub. You have to be vetted by a political party, Liberal, Labor, or Greens, or whoever you're going to go in for, right? Because you got fat Buckley's chance if you're just a local who wants to go into parliament, because you'll get railroaded by the Labor and Liberal and the Greens. That's why there's hardly any independents, because they try and quash you out of government, because the government's Labor and Liberals don't want you in there, because they get paid more money for the more politicians they've got in there. It's a con. It's an absolute rort. And we're getting right royally bent over and screwed by this. It's so wrong, it's not even funny anymore. And people are waking up to it and saying, piss off. You don't do anything for us anyway. Do I go and work in the private sector? I don't give a shit. I don't want, because you can't get into parliament unless you go for the Liberals and Labor. So basically they're cherry picking the people that are going to represent you in your local area to get into parliament. Like say if I went and I said to the Liberal Party, I want to be your member for the local area, and they go, oh, you're a carpenter. You're a builder. Ooh, we want a doctor or a lawyer. That's how pathetic this is now, folks. The days of like just a normal Joe Bloggs putting his hand up and saying, I'm going to go to Parliament because I want to help my country is gone. Absolutely fucking gone. You can forget all about that. So those people that are now representing you in Parliament in your area, They're not from the local class of people. They're doctors, lawyers, whatever, judges, whatever. But they're not people like you and me. And you need to understand that. That's why you need to stop voting, because these clowns are just doing it for the money. It's just wrong. Not only that, right? All the other states have now given themselves a pay rise. All of them. Massive pay rise. In New South Wales, they gave themselves like 20, 30 grand each per year extra in one go. Meanwhile, they've cut our penalty rates. They've cut all your hours. The federal government took the recent pay raise fight to the Supreme Court to stop us getting pay rises, or stop you guys getting pay rises, because I don't work anymore because of my disability, but my illness, sorry. And they actually went that far to stop us getting a 1.5% raise. And as I said, they cut everybody's penalty rates. So if you're working, 12-hour shift on a Sunday, you don't get any extra for it now. If you've given up your family time to go and work in a restaurant or whatever, you don't get any extra. People need to start saying, I tell you what, I'm not working on a Sunday. I'm not working on a Saturday. People need to actually start doing that. I'm saying, I've had enough. I'm not doing. We need to have a revolt in this country. That's what needs to happen. I'm sorry to say that, but that's actually the truth. That's how bad things are getting. Think about this. You're not getting anything. They're getting everything. And that clown that's in Cambodia is actually getting more money than you and me. Those dipshits that went over to Syria and they became orphans, they're going to get back here and they're going to get more money than you and I put together. They're going to get millions, literally millions. You can't make this shit up, can you? Okay, folks, and as always, we'll say the prayers. Hopefully, they will do some good. Verse of the day. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. Good verse. And as always, guys, we'll finish with the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. All right, guys, I'll leave it there. Sorry I went on so long, but just thought I'd cover a few topics. I'm going to go into the Israel Folau case next on my next chat. All right, guys, God bless. Prep out.